right, there's something that I've been doing for years, that I built years ago and modified, and I wanted to go ahead and do a video and show it to everybody. And right now we're here at Red's 100-yard indoor range. They're open 7 days a week from 9 in the morning till 9 at night. You can shoot here rain or shine, or if you've got a load that you're working up for a rifle and you're trying to choose which one and you want perfect conditions with no wind, you can bring your lead sled, put it down the bench, and grab your rifle and drive them through the same hole. So it helps you work up whichever load you're going to end up using in the end. But what I want to show you is I've got several over here that we've done, and been doing this for years. And this is a forward optic mount for hunting at night. Here in Texas, there's no season on hogs. It's not like deer or other states where you have elk and moose and all that. The hog, there's no season, there's no limit. So when you're hunting deer, that season's kind of short, and then the whole rest of the year, we just hunt hogs. And landowners will usually let you do it for either free or almost free because the hogs do so much damage to their land. I have seen fields that had coastal grass to be baled that was, almost waist high. So thick you could hardly walk through, but the field was tore up and it was so rough they couldn't bale it. They'd have to burn the field off and then go in there and flatten it all out and try and dress it all back up and fertilize it and try the next year to get it to grow back. So hog hunting here is a deal that we do for the whole year. And what I want to try and do was come up with a mount or an optic that you could use at night for either an SKS rifle or a AK-47. I mean, everybody has at least one, and they don't cost $1 zillion. You can throw one in a truck or a Jeep. If it gets a scratch, it's not going to kill you. But anyhow, I've tried just about every mount there is for either the AK-47 or the SKSs. I've tried where you would replace the gas tube. And on those, I had several. They would always rotate just a little bit. I could never get it to lock down. I took it to the gunsmith. I took it to 2 different gunsmiths, probably 4 or 5 times. And the problem that I had, it would always rotate. Every time I pull it out of the bag, pull it out of the case, the hard case, it'd be 1 or 2 or 3 clicks off. So got away from that. Tried I knew the cover mounts weren't going to work. There were some options that people had tried to try and lock them down, so I want to try those. Of course, the horror stories of cover mounts. Those don't work either. Now there is a railed forend that I like a lot that you can buy for the AK-47, and the only problem is it's half the price of an SKS. Works real good, but it's a lot of machine work, and it's a little high. This mount that I'm going to show you can do it yourself for less than 20 bucks. Less than 20 bucks, you're done. Now, this starts out with a UTG BR005S. If you can't tell, that's a 5 and that's an S. BR005S. I'm going to leave that up so you can write it down. We're going to keep on going. It's a single rail barrel adapter. Here is one. I'm going to walk up the camera and show you. That's what the package looks like. When you pull it out of the package, you have a rail. You have a little Picatinny rail on each side, and it clamps together, and it looks like this. Now the problem is, this is meant for a light. This is not meant to be sturdy enough to mount an optic on there and not move. So if you try to tighten it down enough to be stable for an optic, you'll bend and roll those little corners down. So what we do, we add screws to it. Now the first ones that I did, I'll show you in a second. We added 1 screw on each side. Now, that worked fine. I've got a bunch of them. I've never gone back and changed them because they're sighted in, they're done, I don't want to mess with it. And that worked fine. But now, since we always try and make everything as tough and as bulletproof as we can, I'm putting 2 screws on each side. So we're adding 4 screws, and that locks it down. It doesn't move. And the screws are cheap. Once you have the little tap bought, and at the end of the video, I'm going to put the size of the tap and the length of the screw. They are metric, and I'll put them up there. So what you want to do on the rail is you take this and tighten down your screws, put it in a vise, and lay out your 2 screw holes. and you want to drill through both pieces with the drill bit for the size that you're going to tap the bottom piece. Now when you get through drilling 2 holes on each side, take it apart, take the top piece off that's not threaded, and you drill that out just a little bit with an oversized drill bit, just enough to where the screw can go through it and turn. It'll just pass through it. Okay, you're done. That's it. You've made it. Now I'm going to show you how to mount it. On the earlier ones that we've had for years and years that had 3 screws, this is a real nice mill receiver Polytech AK-47. This is what they look like. Now, you had to, on some of these weapons, you had to put a riser, depending on the weapon. Different optics come with different risers in them. But that's what it'll look like if you have 3 screws or a little 1/2-inch riser on there. And that puts it a perfect co-witness with the front side. Now there's another optic that I'll show you behind door number 3. This is a Yugo Model 70 AB2, an underfolder. That's what it looks like now. We just decided to add an extra screw. Screws don't cost but a few cents a piece. Now this came with this riser. There's a bunch of different size risers to where you could get it up to the height of a AR-15. So that came with the scope. This doesn't require a riser, that goes right on it. And whenever you put these together and you tighten them up, what I tell people to do is just put your optic on their finger tight, put your, and if you'll look, it just fits on an AK-47 between up here in the gas block and your front sight block. Fits just perfect, like it was made for it. Now, what I tell people to do is make sure your gaps are even on the same on the both sides, and then just snug it up, rotate it to where your optic lines up with your front hood. It'll match up with your front hood, and then snug it up. And then you just go evenly, a little quarter, half turn at a time, keep going around it just like you were tightening the head on a race car motor. And you just go around and get a little bit on each one where you don't over tighten one all the way down. Just torque it down nice and even, and they stay. You don't have any problems at all. Now, the really cool thing is that you're going to line up with the front hood. Now, it's behind your front sight. So it projects the red dot onto your front sight. So that gives you a whole bunch of options that are kind of cool. Just bear with me for a second and I'll explain. If you're seeing this right here, there is here's a picture that here's a picture I took to show you what it looks like looking through the sight. Now that's where the sight turned real bright. I usually don't turn it that bright, but I didn't know how it was going to turn out, so I turned the brightness up on the dot. Okay, so the way I like to sight in my weapons is at 100 yards, I like to sight them a little high, where the impact is a little above the front post, because we shoot at little bitty stuff. We don't shoot at buckets unless they're 500 yards away. So if you're shooting at something small, like let's say you're shooting at a golf ball and it's about that big, you can judge 1/2 inch, 3/4 up to about 1 inch. You can judge that, and if you got a little sliver of something up on a berm and you want to shoot it, you can judge that, just how much to hold under it and hit it. You can hit little bitty stuff. Then that also helps you without moving the sight, and at 200 you're just a little bit low. So let's say, for instance, you had a golf ball. They're that big. So that's just about perfect. So if it were sighted in, the golf ball would be, you'd be aiming 6 o'clock on the golf ball or something that size. And then your point of impact would be right there. And you'd hit it. And you can remember, you can judge that a little bit. Now, if you're shooting a Mosin or a Swedish Mauser, and those, unless you change the front sight, are 7.5, 8 inches high at 100 yards. Okay, it's hard to shoot at something this big and you're hitting this much high. That's hard to judge that. You can hit a gallon bucket, but it's hard to hit golf balls or whatever. But if you're only this much high, you can judge that. You can aim just under the little daylight and hit it. Now, here's what's cool. Your red dot is behind the front sight. So it projects the dot on the back of the sight. So what I do is I will set up the dot like this, okay? And if you're seeing this right here, I hope you can see this in the, so here's your dot right here. And what I'm actually doing is I'm shooting 12 o'clock on the dot. Right on top of that dot is where you're hitting. Man, you can shoot crumbs and pieces like that. Now you need a dot that's nice and round. Everybody's always been trying to go smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller on the dot size, down to 2 MOA or 1 MOA or whatever. It's hard to get a real defined dot. They end up being kind of like a starburst, or they'll look like a bunch of grapes. They're not real even and perfectly round. It's kind of a starburst and it glares. But on a 3 or a 4 MOA dot, you can get a really nice round dot. So, you're aiming a little high on your irons, you turn on your red dot, and right on top of your red dot is where you're hitting. And I mean, you could almost, if you could see a cigarette butt at 100 yards, you could hit it. Whole problem is trying to see it. So there's a lot of my videos where we're shooting clay pigeons. Because it's fun, you can put them on a berm, you can see them good because they're orange, and when you hit them, they break into pieces and they just disappear and they're gone. It's kind of cool. It's a reactive target. Now when you're shooting with a red dot, the red dot kind of blends in with the orange. Now there's nothing in nature when you're hunting, there's nothing in nature that's fluorescent orange. Only at the range when you put clay pigeons on the berm. Now I have a friend of mine that's, one of my best friends is colorblind and he can't see red, but he can see green. So there's some dots I'm trying that are a high quality dot, that is red or green. You can get either way. And if those hold up and they stay zeroed and they go through all the torture tests and stuff, then I'll come back and post a video of that, because that'd be really cool. If I had a green dot on the orange pigeons, I could see it better. But this works real well. Now the other thing is, at night, if you're hunting and you've got 3/4 to a full moon, and out in the field, I mean, you can see stuff running around. You can drive your car at night without lights on a full, clear moon night. Hunting without night vision, that costs a lot of money. So what you do is you keep both eyes open, and when you throw up that rifle and you shoulder that rifle, keep both eyes open, you'll see that dot. You won't see the iron sight because it's dark and you won't see it. All you'll see is the dot. Now, there's a video that I'm going to be posting that shows you how to use your red dot for instant holdover points. No adjustment, no nothing. Instant holdover points, 50, 100, 200, 250, 300 yards. You can use your dot, and it gets you on a pistol, like an AK pistol, it gets you 250 yards, what we're doing. And on a rifle, it'll get you 300, because of shoot flat. It's a higher muzzle velocity. Anyhow, I want to go through all that and I will explain all that. But be sure and watch for that video, because at night you won't see the front sight and you will be able to see your red dot, and the same thing will work for you on that as it does for the other guns that don't have front sight you're looking through. You're just looking through a red dot. But the same theory, everything works exactly the same. So if you got herd hogs running out there at 200 yards, 250 yards, you can get down on it. So anyhow, it's a real neat setup. I like it. It's back far enough from the muzzle. You don't get a lot of dirt and trash up there on the optic. Those little scopes, weigh, I don't know, 3.8, 4 ounces, or about 4 ounces, so it's really nothing on the end of the rifle. They're not heavy. The mount is aluminum. It doesn't weigh hardly anything. And it's the perfect length to fit on a AK-47. You got plenty of room on an SKS rifle, but on an AK-47, it just fits in there just perfect, like it was made for it. But anyhow, it's a neat setup. You can make it in minutes. You can probably make it as fast as it did to watch this video. But I wanted to show you how to sight it in, not just build it. And remember, when you put it on, you can rotate it to get it lined up with your hood, tighten it down. If your rifle is already sighted in, then you can just sight it into your front sight, and it'll get you on the paper at 100 yards. Try this setup here. I think you're going to like this a lot. But anyhow, I really do thank you for watching, and be sure and sign up for the YouTube channel. That way, if we do another video, we're going to be posting all kind of neat tricks and tips. I've been shooting for 50 years, and there's all kind of little tricks that we've learned to make guns really shoot well. And we're going to show you those and just help you get shooting better. There's nothing for sale on the website. We're not here to sell your stuff. We're just here to help you shoot better. So be sure and sign up for the channel, and thanks a bunch for watching.